A lot of narcissistic, sociopathic, and psychopathic people lack ambition and drive. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones, and I've spent several years working with disordered personalities, people who have criminal thinking and have committed crimes against persons. And one of the things that I've noticed, way back when, even before, my career in corrections and things like that, is that there are people with severe personality disorders, not all, but a lot of people with severe personality disorders with conduct problems and things of that nature. They lack that ambition and that drive. To do things that will make them excel at life, right? And so what does that look like? And I think this is why we see a lot of people refer to narcissistic people as hobosexuals or something like that, or say that there's no one falls in love faster than a narcissist who needs a place to stay. And what I have found is that people with these personalities often have a poor concept or poor view of themselves. And that means that they don't really like themselves very much. And a lot of times they engage in self-harming and self-destructive behavior. So that'll look like drinking, doing drugs, but also things such as eating disorders, cutting, burning, self-mutilation in some capacity. So they'll engage in things that are high risk and that are completely self-destructive, because I look at it as like a passive way to suicide. They're looking for the fastest way to self-destruct. So there's some passive suicidal behaviors, if that makes sense. It's like, how much can I do to harm myself? How much risk can I engage in? How much can I put myself in harm's way? But when it comes to life skills, when it comes to things like getting a job, getting a place to stay, following the routine monotony of life to become a functioning adult, a lot of times they have a difficult time with that. And they, again, people that have a lot of free time, they're likely to engage in a lot more reckless behavior. And so again, and even if they do have a job, for example, because I've worked with some who do have a job, what will tend to happen is, like, let's just say like their job isn't going well or their job isn't suited for them. They don't have the ambition to say, unless it comes down to the wire, like they're fired or something like that, like something extreme has to happen before they say, you know what, I'm going to go out and find something that's better suited for me in order to pay my bills, or I'm going to find, I'm going to make sure that I'm secure in my life. So that's the other thing, is they struggle with security and safety and things like that. Things that, like, people that are more emotionally developed, thrive at is security and safety. They struggle with that, and so they often look to other people to provide that with them. So, and that's where the parasitic behavior comes from, is they look for other people to fund their lifestyle, to borrow their car, to have a place to live, to pay all the bills, to, raise their kids and things like that. And so that they continue to go through life struggling to, manage responsibilities, or not caring about, because sometimes it's not even a struggle. It's just like, I don't care. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go out and become a productive citizen. I don't want to, follow the rules. I don't want to do those things. And so, again, there is a lack of that ambitiousness, a lack of progressiveness. And of course, we all know how it shows up in relationships, right? There's a lack of, or an unwillingness to commit, an unwillingness to compromise, right? Or be selfless with another person, which would, ultimately help the couple achieve a goal of, just being a great couple, right? And going through life together, being a great partnership. And so you're going to look for deficiencies in these areas of, lacking ambition and lacking, of course, in addition to the ambition, the discipline. I think the discipline is also the biggest thing, because discipline requires routine, it requires monotony, it requires focus and a concentration. And some people genuinely have attention deficit disorder and things like that may also interfere with that. There are a lot of criminals who do struggle with that. But for those who don't, it is that unwillingness to want to focus and concentrate and want to plan ahead and have those life goals. It's more about thinking like in the moment, here and now, and not thinking about the long-term consequences of actions. And part of my work with criminals for a long time was, having people who engage in criminal behaviors and criminal thinking, was having them think through the consequences of their actions, and slowing down. What's going to happen if you pop off and get into that fight? Like what are the potential consequences? Oh, you could go to jail. You could hurt someone. Those kind of things. But having them slow down and think through the consequences. What happens if you don't go to school? If you don't get a high school diploma or high school a GED or whatever. Like what realistically, how can you go out and be a productive citizen? What kind of job can you get, and what can you do if you have an arrest record? How does that impact your livelihood on down the road and things like that? So having them slow down and think about consequences. But again, the prognosis can be poor for them if they have a consistent bounty full of people who are going to constantly bail them out. So they sort of, they have a mom, a grandmom, or a girlfriend, or a boyfriend, or whatever, people that are around them that consistently bail them out of trouble and want to do that for them. Then, there's no incentive. They look at it as no incentive of having to do those things. I don't have to, I don't want to. And luckily I have someone here who's going to, clean up my mess for me. Hope that helps.